Joining me now to talk about that and much more is the representative from the great state of Illinois, Congressman Rodney Davis. We've spoken to him before on these issues, but let me just start first with another initiative right now, which is to look at the question of how voters vote in upcoming elections. And there's been concern because of COVID, because of social distancing, and the risks of some of what we saw in Wisconsin, that national mail-in ballots need to be mandated, or at least put across the nation. I know there's a lot of complexities there, and Congressman, you have some concerns. So can you walk us through what you've learned in recent hearings about your concerns about a national mail-in ballot initiative?
Absolutely, Steve. First off, thanks for having me on again. It's great to see you. Secondly, this is an issue that we've been addressing since I took over on our Republican side to lead the House Administration Committee, which actually has jurisdictions over our nation's election system in the House of Representatives. We saw with H.R. 1, the new Democratic majority decided they wanted to push election reforms. Part of those election reforms were reforms to mail-in balloting, nationalizing ballot harvesting, a process that's already been corrupted and caused us to have a special election in North Carolina. These things are not part of COVID-19's pandemic. This has been part of their agenda. And when you look at mail-in balloting, we first have to understand what they mean. Many Democrats mean that they want to mail a live ballot to every single registered voter. And at the same time, as I've been in hearings throughout this country, many of my Democratic colleagues don't want our local election officials to be able to follow the law and remove voters from those voter rolls that aren't registered there or don't live there anymore. That would mean millions more ballots being put out into the street, into mailboxes. That's something that I am against, and most Americans would be against that. It's okay if you want to request a vote by mail. I encourage that. That happens in my home state of Illinois. But we can't nationalize a process that even Secretary of State Kim Wyman from Washington State, whose state has only vote by mail, she said it would take upwards of 10 years to effectively implement her system again. So things have to take time. We don't want to have to wait for election results. And if Democrats are successful by mailing ballots to every single registered voter, even though they might not be legally registered there at that address anymore, or legal to vote, that's a problem.
So what I'm hearing from you is interesting, and I'm just learning this in real time, is that your position is different than some of what I've heard from the White House objecting this. You actually support mail-in ballots, but folks need to request them. Is that right?
Yeah, and the White House is not against mail-in balloting. What they're against, and it's tough to explain this in the limited amount of characters that Twitter allows, but we have the ability to come on shows like yours. Mail-in ballots are something that Republicans and Democrats agree on, but it's how you implement them. We as Republicans, and I know the White House agrees, we don't want to see live ballots mailed to people who should never be eligible to vote at that address. And Democrats will say, well, that's not a problem. Well, you know what it is? I have another member of my House Admin Committee, Barry Loudermilk, congressman from Georgia. One of his staffers lives in Maryland. He requested a ballot to vote in Georgia, as he should and can do. He got that one, but then got 2 ballots mailed to him in the most recent Maryland election, made out to some other names because they're still on the voter rolls at that address that he now lives at. And he did the right thing and destroyed them, but that's a problem.
So, Congressman, is there a way that you're thinking of putting together, a proactive GOP response on that makes that clear? Because I have to tell you that I just don't think it's clear that because I think I'm understand the sensibility of that you would have ballots floating everywhere. And Truth in Advertising, I interviewed Senator Klobuchar about this, and it didn't get framed the same way. But I think the question is there a proactive step that can say, rather than being against mail-in balloting, you're in for that, and then also I think the other part of the initiative that I heard was whether or not the costs of states beginning to look at whatever they need, because what people don't understand, I think, is that states define how they're going to run elections and whatnot. So part of it is adjunct onto what states decide. So is there some way that you might be able to craft a bill that gives them the support they need without going to the level of concern that you saw with kind of a national mail-in ballot process?
Well, we've crafted numerous pieces of legislation regarding mail-in balloting, outline the corrupted process of ballot harvesting that is still ravaging in states like California. We did a ballot harvesting report where I sent observers from the House Administration Committee out to California, and we saw numerous instances of ballots just being thrown outside an outside collection box with no one watching them. They could have been stolen, corrupted, added to, who knows? We saw them laying around the elections office to where anybody walking in could grab them. That's not maintaining the chain of custody in a ballot to make sure someone's vote can get counted. Those things we've introduced bills to address, but unfortunately, Steve, not everybody wants to talk about elections. Not everybody wants to talk about the details of election reforms. It's folks like you that allow us to do that. But to answer your original question, we've laid it out on our social media pages, in media interviews before, but also we're just trying to build that case that there are a majority of areas that we in Washington, Republicans and Democrats, have agreed on immensely. We have provided over $1 billion to our local election officials to address cybersecurity issues and other election issues. And you know what? None of us talk enough about the success on the cybersecurity side when it comes to elections that 2018 showed us. We didn't have one instance of foreign interference. And that's a good thing. That shows we have been working together, investing billions to help this process.